Hey guys, thanks so much for signing up for our fraud webinar. We have some really exciting and interesting insights to share with you today. I'm Dan Mullins, Business Development Manager here at PayKings. Our company specializes in providing payment processing options to business owners in the mid to high risk industries. So what that means is that retailers who have a hard time finding credit card payment processing come to us for solutions because their business model falls in the category of being high risk. And being high risk can happen for a number of reasons. Maybe you're in an industry that's highly regulated, like CBD, or you're subject to a high ratio of chargebacks, like nutraceutical companies and subscription box businesses. Or maybe there's a high risk of fraud, which can really impact any retailer, but those who are primarily in the e-commerce sector definitely get hit the hardest. If you're an e-commerce merchant that has had trouble getting payment processing solutions due to fraud, PayKings can help you out in securing a dedicated high-risk merchant account. We partner with our webinar guest, Vesta, to provide our clients with fraud prevention solutions in e-commerce. They will explain how they get that done a little later on. I'm joined today with Rocky Scales, the Senior VP and GM at Vesta. Rocky, why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little more about Vesta?
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everybody. I'm Rocky Scales. And first of all, I just wanted to thank PayKings for hosting this webinar. And thank you, Dan, for moderating this webinar. So as Dan mentioned, I head up the e-commerce business unit here at Vesta. Here at Vesta, we have delivered a proven, scalable, guaranteed fraud and payment solution for online e-commerce providers. We've been in business for more than 20 years, and we really began as a pioneer in processing guaranteed card-not-present transactions in high-risk categories such as telecommunications and financial services. Today, we process and protect about $18 billion annually, supporting clients such as AT&T, T-Mobile, Vodafone, Telcel, Rogers, and many others. Based on risk and payment innovations we've been working with in high-risk industries such as telecommunications and financial services, we've taken that skill set and we've made a solution that's very easy for e-commerce merchants to implement. And by partnering with Vesta, merchants can maximize revenue, they can eliminate fraud, they can improve their acceptance rates, and then most importantly, what they can do is they can bring down any friction as it pertains to customer authentication or fraud prevention, because we'll own the risk of fraud and we can apply our expertise towards that transaction.
Got it. Thanks, Rocky. So let's jump right in. Which products or services is Vesta uniquely positioned to advocate for?
Great question, Dan. So the fraudsters love e-commerce, and there's a variety of different industries that they're targeting with e-commerce. They certainly love digital products. An example of a digital product now is a ticket to a concert. A ticket to a concert may be delivered inside of an application. That's easy for a fraudster to sell, to monetize. They also like high value-added e-commerce opportunities, such as jewelry. So there's a variety of different categories that they're targeting. High value-add, digital products, retail chains have challenges with fraud as it pertains to the very popular buy online, pickup in store service.
With this being that time of the year, Rocky, would you say that any of the above are especially common during the holiday season?
Yeah, the holiday season's a great time, as everybody knows, because of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, a great time for e-commerce providers. But fraud isn't seasonal. And the challenge is the fraud activity can be as high in March as it is during the holidays. The important thing for the e-commerce provider is to make sure that they've got a fraud mitigation solution in production that doesn't create friction, that doesn't create false positives, that enables all those really important customers that are coming during the holiday season to seamlessly, frictionlessly be able to place their orders.
Got it. So let's dive deeper into exactly how Vesta helps merchants address this growing problem that's not really going anywhere anytime soon.
Great, Dan. What Vesta has is a proprietary solution based on the years of processing transactions in a card-not-present environment in high-risk categories that foundationally were built on understanding the behavior models of the bad guys, of the fraudsters. From that, we've transitioned it into a patented machine learning pipeline that utilizes artificial intelligence to come back and provide very quick responses based on transactional information that enable e-commerce merchants to move forward with good customers.
Sounds like an outstanding tool. How exactly does it work?
It's a very simple implementation whereby the transactional information, if you would, the payload information about the credit card, the expiration date, the CVV, is passed to us. And as I mentioned, we'll look at some other attributes, such as some third-party data. We'll compare it against our own network effect, which is large and looking at a variety of different attributes. And then we'll take it through our machine learning pipeline in an effort to provide a very quick yes or a no to our e-commerce providers. In the event that we say yes, our e-commerce providers are welcome to move forward and process that order, and they will be guaranteed those funds.
Well, when it comes to fraud, can fraud result in one's merchant account or accounts being closed altogether?
Right. Dan, you know this very well, right? High chargebacks.
Yeah.
High chargebacks are a problem for e-commerce merchants, right? And the threshold is right around 1%. If chargebacks are continually above that threshold, then you're going to get pressure from a variety of different financial institutions to either fix that problem or perhaps lose the merchant ID. So having a partner that can mitigate fraud, but be able to support the growth and the opportunity that your business represents is very, very important.
Yeah, I know that may have seemed like a rhetorical question, but yeah, we've definitely seen the aftermath of a merchant who comes to us after having their account shut down, which is exactly why these tools are so important and why choosing a reliable payment processor is so key to the success of a business, in terms of working capital and cash flow. So at the end of the day, what would you say are the primary types of information that are considered in determining whether a transaction is approved or declined based on suspected fraud?
Great question. So as I mentioned earlier, we have an API that gets integrated very simplistically into the e-commerce engine of an e-commerce provider. That provides much of the payload information, the card-specific information to be passed to Vesta, and information about the consumer itself. And so we'll take that information, we'll compare it against some third-party data sources, we'll look at our own consortium, network effect, and then we'll compare it against hundreds of attributes in our machine learning pipeline, all in an effort to make a very quick but reliable decision that we provide back to the e-commerce merchant in the form of a yes, proceed with this transaction, or no, there is a high degree of risk associated with this transaction.
Now, what types of companies would use Vesta's services? Larger enterprise businesses, smaller mom and pop, merchants? You tell me, Rocky.
Well, Vesta's history was really born out of supporting, very large enterprise-based telecommunications companies in a variety of different countries, and it's really through that foundational challenges that telecommunications had in the prepaid segment, and our opportunity to understand fraud profiles not just domestically but internationally is how we built the business. What we've done is we've made the implementation for e-commerce providers very simple through this very simple API that gets implemented into their e-commerce engine. So that provides us with an opportunity to support the business for a small to medium-sized business, a mid-market size business, or a larger enterprise business. So we really can run the gambit in terms of customer opportunities and the simplicity of being able to support those customers.
Now, what about a company that already has a fraud team in place, right? Would your solutions make sense for companies like that?
Right. So in many instances, there may be a data scientist, a fraud prevention, a loss prevention team that might be in place at a particular e-commerce merchant. We're very compatible with those teams. Through the information that's passed to us and the results that we produce, we enable those teams to gather more information about their consumers, as well as to provide less friction and enable growth in the business, which is fundamentally what they're chartered to do as well.
Now, you mentioned that Vesta provides a fraud guarantee. I like guarantees.
Yeah.
What does this guarantee include?
Really good point. So I mentioned, through the API, payload information is sent to us, and we make a decision based off that information and our machine learning pipeline on the risk associated with that transaction. In the event that we say yes, proceed with this transaction, that e-commerce provider is guaranteed the funds associated with that. In the event 30, 60, 90 days later, there's a fraud chargeback. We have a portal by which our e-commerce merchants can come to, and they can apply for a refund based on that fraud-related chargeback. In the event that they apply for a refund and we accept it, we'll fund that chargeback, fund that chargeback request, that fraud chargeback request, within 48 hours.
Pretty awesome. So, at the end of the day, how can our listeners get a hold of you and learn more about Vesta if interested in learning more about your fraud solutions?
Excellent. So as you can see on the screen, my contact information is there, rocky.scales@trustvesta.com. You can also see my phone numbers, both my direct, my mobile line. Vesta's URL is trust, Vesta.com. You're welcome to visit the site and learn more, and we hope to hear from you. We'd love to have the opportunity to have a discussion about how we can mitigate your risk of fraud associated with your e-commerce transactions.
Great. Well, Rocky, I thank you as always for your time and your expert insights on how merchants can stay on top of fraud before, quite frankly, they fall victim to it.
Exactly. Yep. Hey, Dan, thank you so much, and thanks to PayKings too.
You're very welcome. Have a good one, Rocky.
You too.
All right. Bye.